Hello. Hello, welcome. I'm Jean Couch, and I am going to teach you how to sit so you can be comfortable the rest of your life. Swear to God. Hey, so I'm always saying if we could get people to sit comfortably in balance, we could decrease back pain 90% in the United States and save on a lot of medical care. So here we are. Um, hey, so it's all about getting comfortable and knowing how to do that. So for today's class, it's quite important that you have a chair that works. So the chair we taught on when we were teaching in a studio was just this folding chair. I must say about it, if you have a folding chair, could you make sure it's cushioned, or you put a blanket on the back and a cushion under your rump? And partially for the cushioning, but also if you have one of those metal folding chairs, they're often slippery. And if you've been used to sitting on the back of your pelvis all the time, when you sit on a slippery chair, you tend to slip. Hey, and then I also could sit on our kitchen chair if that works for you. But the reason why I don't recommend it really is because it has a big cushion. You sit on a big cushion. And when you're learning to do this, it helps a lot if you get the feedback from the chair when you can feel your bones on the chair. Hey, and then for everyone, we don't want to always sit on big cushioned surfaces because of osteoporosis. Bones need resistance. So you want to, some of the time, sit on solid surfaces. It's why I do not recommend what are they called? Those balls, exercise balls. And then you'll see them on Zoom where they're like this all the time. And so when we look at people who are in their natural postures, sitting and standing are positions of rest. So I, I like to say that we're teaching you how to sit and stand, bend, so that you're conserving energy so you can have a nightlife. So that at the end of the day, you're not exhausted and you go, I'm going to lay on the sofa and have a beer, even though we've all done that, haven't we? Hey, and then a chair I really like. This is a patio chair, and I have to, so it's solid and it's square. See if you can, yeah. And it's harder if you're new to sitting well, if you're new to balance, it's hard to have a straight back. It will be easier if it's slightly reclined. And I'll try and explain that. Hey, but just for you to know, when people think of posture and sitting well, everybody starts to stiffen. So this is really how to position your bones on the chair so you get comfortable, so that your muscles can relax and you're being supported by the chair, but mostly you're being supported by your inner support system, which is what's solid in you, your bones. So I'm going to, we're gonna start just with sitting. And then I'm gonna do a little anatomy. And then I'm gonna show you some slides. And then we're gonna get seated again. So here we go. So you wanna know some landmarks in your body. And the first landmark that would be helpful for you to know is to find the top of your leg. So here's my leg, and the top is in here, right? So it's where the leg and torso come together, and the top of the leg actually is all the way up to here or way up inside of you, but the crease where the joint is right here at the top of the leg. And so I'm going to sit sideways to the camera. So before I knew balance, I commonly, well, like everyone else, almost everyone in the United States sits on the back of the pelvis and then collapses into the chair. And we call it comfortable. But if you've ever been in a meeting with a few people, everybody's moving around. There's a lot of shifting going on. And the reason people move, they don't know it, is because they're uncomfortable. So we're looking for a comfortable position where we're safe. Okay, now to sit, so lift up a leg and find the top of the leg in here. And then lift up the other one, so you have two legs, so you have the top of two legs. Now bring the feet back under the chair, hands on the side of the chair somewhere, and I'm using the rungs on the back of the chair. I could put my hands on the seat of the chair. Okay, now you're gonna lift your butt off the chair. And now remember the tops of your legs and move the top of the legs back in the chair and sit back down. Want to do it again? Yeah. Okay, hey, go back to your original position, right? So this is very familiar. And can you notice that you're on the back of your rump? Okay, find the top of your legs. Bring your feet under the chair, hands on the chair somewhere. Now you're going to lift your butt up off the chair. Now find the top of your legs and move the top of the legs back and sit back down. Now we're just going to lift our butt up 2 inches. So feet under the chair, hands on the side. So now you just lift up and move the top of the legs back again. Hey, so now I think when you sit back down, you can feel something solid underneath you. And that is the preliminary move for all sitting. So almost everyone in the United States, here's the pelvis. And when I'm facing the camera, it's facing this way. When I'm sideways, it's facing this way. Now, here are the buttock bones. And underneath here are a platform of bones where you're actually designed to sit. However, almost everyone in the United States sits here. So it looks like that. So when we sat in the chair, the way I was seated, I was on the back of my butt, almost on the tailbone area, which is the end of the sacrum. And then I lifted up, moved the top of my legs back, and then I ended up on this platform of bones. Hey, so think about just structure. What makes more sense, to sit on these tips or on these edges, or to sit on the ledge? And right away, usually when people have been sitting back for a long time and find this surface, it's like a startling moment. They go, "Whoa," right? So this is the pelvis. And guess what sits right here? This is called the base of the sacrum. So you have a hip bone, and then the tailbone area, which connects to the sacrum, which is a keystone between this arch tip and this arch tip. And the spine sits here. You have 24 vertebrae, and they're flat on the bottom, flat on the top, flat on the bottom, flat on the top. So when you get your butt in the right place, they tend to just stack. However, when the pelvis is tipped like this, then that column of bones has to compensate, and it'll fall back and then fall forward. And then what we notice is that we're all getting more curved as we get older. So we just did the first guideline, which was to go from, you want to do it again? Sure. So you can go to the way most people sit all the time, right? So on the back of the pelvis. And you don't have much sense of bones. When you go, what am I sitting on? You know, you're like, well, it doesn't feel particularly solid. It really is, you're sitting more on muscle or something. Bring your feet back under the chair. Remember the top of your legs, hands on the side. Now lift your butt up off the chair and move the top of the legs back in the chair. Now, every time you sit, it will help you if once you get your legs back and sit, you just lift up an inch or two. So feet under the chair, hands on the side. So just lift up an inch or two and move the top of the legs back. You just scoot them back. And now I think you can feel that solid, you feel more solid bone underneath you. How do you make bones healthier? How do you make them more solid? You sit on them, right? You put weight on them. So right now we're weighting the bones of the pelvis the way they're supposed to. So the preliminary for comfort always says to get your butt in the right place. And that's where the top of the legs are back. And then you just drop your body weight. Now, what about the spine? You know what you get to do? You get to do nothing. It's one of the best parts. Or what I could say is slouch. You know, this is one of the hardest parts because it's unbelievable. We have in our mind, the minute we talk about posture or sitting well, we have in our cultural brain, we learn this from our culture, to sit up straight. So go ahead and sit up straight. What do you do when you sit up straight? Sit up straight. You've got that voice in your head, right? So what I do, I lift my chest and I pull my shoulders back. So when you do that, What tightens? Can you feel? Go ahead and go to the other way, slouch for a minute. And now go ahead and sit up straight. So I lift my chest and I take my shoulders back. And then what tightens is my back. So how do you define a healthy muscle? So you think of tone or strong, but the words that actually define a healthy muscle are elastic, springy, resilient. So if you're tightening your back or your shoulder area, the muscles there are not elastic, they're not springy, they are tight. So the weakest muscles in your body are the tight ones. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna do nothing. You get to just slouch onto the chair. You know, you wanna feel like it's a slouch. I mean, we do and we don't, right? Because the word slouch feels like we're slouchers. So it makes us shy away from that. But we associate it with being comfortable. So really just do nothing and you will find that you can sit longer and longer. You know, the other guideline, the specific guideline for the spine is to find these ribs for both men and women under the breast. Find these ribs here, and you want these ribs to go down and maybe a little back. And then you do nothing. So that's the opposite of sit up straight, right? When I sit up straight, my chest goes forward, the ribs under my breast protrude, and it tightens my back. So what you want to do is to take these ribs under the breast down and take them back, put them on the chair, and then just slouch. Hey, so now I want to talk about the spine a bit. So here's the spine. And take one hand, lean forward, and with your fingertips, feel the bones in your back. You got them? Feel your low back. So you just find you feel muscles on each side of the spine, and then you feel the bones of the back. Okay, now bring your hand back. My husband, hey, Mike. So bring your hand back. Now, think about this. Are you touching this side of the spine, or are you touching this side of the spine? Go ahead and feel them again, right? So can you figure it out? You can think about it. Are you touching this side or this side? In other words, what part of the spine is the back and what part of the spine is the front? So I'm going to tell you, when you take a hand back and feel your spine, all you're feeling are the tips of the spine, the spinal processes. And then can you see in here next to the points of the spine, there are grooves, and that's where the muscles are. So when the muscles are tight, you may be feeling a lot of tightness next to the spine, and you get confused. You can't tell if you're feeling bone or flesh. So the point of this really is, so the back of the spine are the pointy sides, the spiny processes. They don't bear your body weight. The part of your spine that bears your body weight is in the front, the vertebral bodies. So when you are lifting your chest, you're tipping the vertebra and you have nothing back here to support you. So the muscles have to tighten. If you lift your chest, you lean back, and then look, your head can't be over there. Your body has to compensate, and it goes forward, and the spine ends up being too curved, right? So we're going to, what we're working on is comfort, how to be comfortable on the chair. And as we get comfortable, you're beginning to straighten the spine to get rid of these curves. You're getting rid of the tension, and you're taking, see when I lean back, see when the spine leans back, you begin to narrow the disc on the back and in the front here. You know, people sit all types of ways. I mean, this is really common now, where people get a big hump in the low back. So these guidelines will be the same no matter how you sit. You're going to move the top of your legs back, sit on your bones, and then as you relax, as you drop your ribs down, then you begin to stack the spine. You take the pressure off the disc, the undue pressure on the edges. And then also, as the weight begins to go in the bone, the muscles begin to relax and you get more and more comfortable. So I am going to screen share, I believe. Yes, here we go. So I took this photo in India a long time ago. So pretty, pretty nice guy, huh? I mean, he just looks so upright and naturally strong. So he sits this way because his culture does. So most people that he's around sit on the bottom of their pelvis, and then he just relaxes his back and it stacks itself. And then he's comfortable as he works at the loom. And because he's in natural alignment like this, he won't get more curvy as he gets older. And for all of us, we expect that when we get older, we're definitely going to get more curved. Hey, but at any age, you can begin to reverse this and get straighter. Hey, so this is natural sitting. So the woman who did the original research, Noelle Perez, when she began to discover this, she said, hey, I want to go around the world and see people who are not industrialized, who do heavy work all their lives. And I want to see how they sit, stand, bend, sleep, etc. So and then I traveled all over the world photographing thousands and thousands of these people. And what we see universally is that they always sit on the bottom of the pelvis. And we unfortunately sit on the back of our pelvis like this. So this is it. I mean, hey, and the problem is it's so perversive that so many people now are sitting on the back of the pelvis that we don't think about it much. And certainly younger people don't, you know, that everybody sits like this. So she has this huge curve. So, hey, look, her structure, the way she's positioned it makes it so the bones can't support her now. So what has to be holding up a lot of this is tense muscles. And she's uncomfortable all the time, but she hardly recognizes it. She begins to call it normal. And 100 years ago, almost everyone in the United States still sat in natural alignment. And, if you go back and look at your family albums, you'll see. So she does the guidelines naturally. When she sat on this stool, automatically for her, the top of her legs went back. And then she just melts down through the front of her. And she looks solid, doesn't she? And she's very upright. And so this is relaxed, upright posture. And all children under the age of 3 are in natural balance, and they still sit on the base of their pelvis, and then they just relax and the spine stacks itself. So what happens as we become a little older and we want to be like our family, or, soon it translates to teachers or coaches or the kids who are a little bit older. And what we see in our culture is that everybody is too curved. So soon, this little girl, like the rest of us, we take on the posture of our culture, and we lose the natural alignment of the bones. And so I actually took this photo in Italy, but this is typical. So this kid, I don't know, he's not very old, but he's tight everywhere. He doesn't know how tight he is because he's always tight. He doesn't have a comparative situation where he gets to relax. So the problem is it's cool to sit on the back of the pelvis, and then the spine rounds out the head. He can't hold his head back here. That would really be stressful. So instead, his head goes forward and his shoulders fall forward. And every day of his life now, he's getting more curved. And almost no matter what he does, because you can't turn off gravity. So where we spend the most time, and most of us spend most of the time seated, is what shapes us the most. So if you only change the way you sit, you can begin to cure so many things about your physical body because we sit so much of the time. And this was Czechoslovakia. And so see how this girl in brown is on the back of her pelvis, and therefore the spine has to become excessively curvy. But behind her, this woman in red, she's sitting on the bottom of her pelvis, so the back of her legs are back. And then as she relaxes, her spine stacks itself, and she's much more comfortable than the woman in brown. They may not know how they feel. Like the woman in brown may know that she's, oh yeah, my shoulders are tight. And she'll describe herself, oh, I'm tight all the time. But she doesn't recognize how uncomfortable she is because she doesn't have a comparative situation where she has a moment of relaxation. And this I took in Mexico, and she's sitting up straight. And people who sit up straight, my experience is they often have neck problems. That when I have somebody who would call me on the phone at the Balance Center and say, I'm coming in with a neck problem, I would anticipate that they were chest lifters like this, because the spine isn't solid, it's not stacked, and the weight of the 12-pound head doesn't have any place to sit. And this is, wait, I'm going to think about it, maybe Croatia. So this gentleman sits naturally, and I took about 24 photos of him, who knows. And he would sit forward and he would sit more upright, but always he was on the bottom of his pelvis, and he never once lifted his chest. So he was letting his bones support him. And he looks friendly and approachable, right? Right? Right. And this is Mexico, and she doesn't have a back on her chair. So the top of her legs are back. And then see how she's not bending? So when you lift your chest, you make this sway back. And almost all of us stand with a sway back, which we get to in the series of this course of classes. So today, when I'm telling you, move the top of your legs back, move your ribs back, and then just slouch, you've begun to make a spinal column. And the way we teach, we start with the position of the pelvis first, and then we build the spine from the base up. So if she sits up straight and her ribs go forward, she would get a divot, a hole, a sway back here. And that is the problem with the spine. So she just naturally, because the people she grew up around were relaxed, she's relaxed. She sits on the bottom of her pelvis, and then she relaxes and the spine stacks itself. Hey, now, if I had to show people one photo about sitting, it would be this one. And I took this on a ferry in India. So the man in the brown pants sits very well. The man in the blue pants is on the back of his pelvis, and his whole spine is at risk. Now, so notice this guy in brown, how deep the top of the legs are back into the pelvis. So right now where you're sitting, you might want to lift your rump up and move the top of the legs back in the chair. And then see how he's relaxing. He's not holding in his gut here, and the weight of the arms indicate he's relaxing his back. So once he got his pelvis in the right place, all he has to do is let go. And as he's on the ferry, he's resting. So when we got to this island we were going to, he has energy. He's ready to go. Hey, and his legs are nicely positioned, which I'll do with all of us here in a minute. But the legs in the hip, when you relax your legs, they will always go to a slight V. So right now, where you are, you want to relax your legs and just let them go where they go. And they will, when you truly relax, they will always go slightly V'd. And then the foot should, it's best when the foot points the same direction as the knee. Otherwise, you have a turn, a twist at the knee or the ankle or the foot. So you can think of the knee and the foot being married. They always face the same direction. And we'll go through it together in a minute. Hey, now by comparison, the gentleman next to him, he's sitting on the back of his pelvis. And can you see how he doesn't have a deep crease here? So his legs are actually going toward his feet, whereas the guy in brown, his legs are going into his pelvis. So all his joints are more secure. I'm not kidding, right? And then as he sits on the back of his pelvis, he is dropping his chest, but the base of his spine now is misaligned, and he has pressure on the wrong parts of the disc. Hey, now he is the gentleman in the blue with the pink shirt, he's much more uncomfortable than the guy in the brown pants. So if I had to show you or send you a poster so you can put it above your computer or at your table, I could send you this of the guys in the blue and brown pants. I'm sure you'd be excited to receive it, huh? Hey, but for me, when I saw these two guys, I was like, wow. And I actually have their upper body, but I haven't seen that slide in a long time. Oh, one more slide. Oh, yes, we're back to India. Hey, and the other thing for you to think about, see these points here? Those are his butt bones. So you want to also have the idea of having a wide base. So you could pull one butt wide and the other butt wide. You can use your hands. And then look how his legs are V'd. And then can you sense how he's not lifting his chest? He's sinking down the front of him. And because his pelvis is vertical, he doesn't get a rounded back. If his pelvis falls back, if he sits on the back of his pelvis, his spine would curve. But his spine won't curve as much as ours because his muscles have more tone. Yeah, yeah. Okay, we're gonna escape. What do you think of this photo, huh? So this is how we look now, but we're supposed to look like this. Heartbreaking. Okay. So now let's sit from standing. So if everyone will stand. Hey, my friend, the skeleton. This is a human skeleton. Okay, so now you're going to stand in front of your chair and again, find the top of your legs. It's right there. And put your heels 12 inches apart and your toes 14. So the top of the legs. So now, can you just tip your torso forward and begin to move the top of the legs back, get a hold of your chair, pull your chair in. Now think, top of the legs go back and sit. It will always feel better if you just reseat. So feet under the chair, hands on the side, lift your pelvis, top of the legs back, scoot them back, and come to sitting. And then sink, make yourself comfortable, or I could say the word slouch, and really slouch, melt downward. Now, in this chair, I don't know what chair you're on, but in this chair, if I would get my butt too far back through the hole, then for me, for my spine, my back, to rest on the backrest, I would have a sway back and I'm uncomfortable. So on whatever chair you're on, if you're uncomfortable in the back area here, you may be arched. So if I get my rump too far through the back of this chair, look, so when we taught at the studio and people would notice their butts too far back, it would be a modern posture thing to do this, where they scoot forward by tucking and the top of the leg goes forward and they've lost the position of the pelvis. So get your butt back and kind of push your butt a little too far into the back of the chair. Now, to move forward, instead of tucking your butt under, you're going to hinge, fold over the top of your legs and hands on the side of your chair. Now, push and just drag your butt out, say 1 inch, and come up. And yeah, for me, it worked. It did. It's far enough. Now, in the beginning, you may not know. So you may go back, forward, but you're looking for just right. And then you just drop down. Now we want to do a little spinal stretch, a little traction in the spine. So put your hands on the side of the chair, lean forward and take your low back off the chair. Now push down on your hands and inside of you, press back the ribs under your breasts for both men and women. Press back those ribs. Pull the lowest vertebra up, up, up. Press back the low ribs and glue the back onto the chair and bring your hands down. Now, when I notice how I feel, I tense my legs, actually the back of the legs. So then I take a moment and I say, self, Jean, relax, calm, quiet the body. This may take a moment or two. So it's common when we're learning new things or efforting that we're tensing. But where the comfort, where the safety, where the strength lies is in a quiet, relaxed, peaceful body. And then notice how we haven't done very much, but notice how upright I am. And you are too. You're going to feel like this. In other words, when you start really relaxing, you may feel really curved. If you really do curve over here, where your head and shoulders are forward, in a minute, we're going to do the shoulders and the head. Hey, so look, here I'm sitting up, here I'm relaxing down. And then I don't take my head and shoulders forward. I'm going to do it again. So here's sitting up, and this is stress, this is tension. So all I do is relax. But if I then take my head and shoulders forward, that's too far. But it may be, so that is how I used to sit, right? I used to sit like this. So when I came to the first classes, I was more here. So we're going to add shoulders and head. Let me reseat myself. So I'm on the bones and my low ribs here have gone back and I'm just resting on the chair now. Now to align your shoulders. Simple. Hey, so the pitfall would be, so we're going to do a shoulder roll where we take a shoulder up, back, and down. And the other one up, back, and down. Now the pitfall is frequently, it's really tempting to lift the shoulder, take it back, and at that moment the chest goes up again. So you want to become aware. So you're sinking, you're giving weight to the breastbone, And the shoulder goes up, back, and down. And give weight to the breastbone, so no lifting the chest. And the other one, shoulder up, back, and down. But now, even though we've placed the shoulders, you don't want to hold them because that would make you tense. So you let go. You let go. Hey, listen, anything you are asked to hold, like your shoulders, it won't work, will it? We all tried it. I mean, before I learned this, I hated posture because no matter what I tried, I couldn't do it because I was always holding it, trying it. And I would lose my awareness and go right back into a type of slouching, which was more comfortable than stiffening. The other pitfall with shoulder rolls is that people turn toward the shoulder, right? So you're twisting back and forth. So drop your chest. And then if you'd like, pull your spine up and take those low ribs back and glue the back onto the chair. Now, with the breastbone and the spine constant, it doesn't move. Lift one shoulder up, move it back and down. And the other shoulder up, back, and down. And now for the head, real gently, now without moving the breastbone again, just move, take your head forward a little bit. And we're trying to remobilize the 7 bones in the neck, and then drop the chin and move the neck back. And the back of the ears goes skyward. So once you've done that, then you relax, you don't hold it. We'll do the neck again. So real easy, you glide your neck forward. You have the idea of letting the neck be slippery, and then back up the neck and bring the face down, and the back of the ears goes skyward. When you do it, could you press back on the ribs under the breast a bit? Give a little pressure there and let the length go up into the back of the neck. And then do nothing. Yeah, so then you don't hold it. So you've done the work and now you just rest on the chair. Now relax the legs and look down, and the legs will be in a V. And can you just look down and make sure the toes are pointing the same direction as the knee. Hey, and please, I know this is really hard. Hey, we have to give this up. We have to give up crossing the legs. So so since COVID, my husband and I walk all the time. So we see so many people on the road. And now so many knees, people step and the knee drops in the next one. And this is both men and women, where the legs now look like egg beaters because the legs no longer track forward from sitting so much with your legs crossed. And this is a big one for us to take care of our lower limbs. Now what shapes us the most is how we sit. So if you can become aware of sitting, it will make an enormous difference to your overall skeletal health. If you have knee problems, you want to find out what shape are you putting your knees in sitting, and then that begins to translate to bending and to walking. But sitting, it will show you what you're doing, right? Oh man, and there will be other classes on the legs and the ankles and feet. Yeah, there's something else I'm going to do. What could it be, right? Hey, so bring your feet under the chair, hands on the side. Lift your pelvis up, move the top of the legs back, and reseat. And now remember the gentleman I showed you with the wide butt bones? So we're going to lift our butt up again, and you want to have the idea of widening the butt in the back. So feet under, hands on the side, lift your butt, and move the top of the legs back, widen the butt, and sit back down. Now, if you're not comfortable here at the base, are you too far back? And if you are, you would scoot forward. And now relaxing, settling down. So you let your legs be heavy. It's like you give them to the chair, or it's like you give your feet to the floor. You don't have to hold them in, you let go. And then the ribs under your breast sink down. And then if you want to add a little traction, hands on the side, and with the ribs back, pull the back side up a bit. Leave your butt heavy on the chair. It's your spine you're pulling up, and glue it back on the chair and bring your hands down. And now take a moment and relax the legs. And relax the buttocks and the belly. And let your spine slouch. Let it stack. Remember, the weight-bearing part of the spine is on the front of the spine. So you want to sink into the front of your body and let the bones stack and bear your body weight. And then with the chest quiet, so you're not going to lift your chest. All right, chest, stay where you are. And then real easy, pick up a shoulder and move it back and then set it down. And really you're setting it on the top of the rib cage. So the other shoulder, you just lift up the shoulder and you move it back, and then you feel like you're setting it down like you would put a pot on the stove. Now, when you did that, did you tighten your back? It's real common. So you just go, oh yeah, and then you just sink in the front. And then you give weight to the arms, they hang down. And the hands, the arms are straight. So you don't want to turn your hands. The hands come straight out and they rest on my legs. I also could interlace my hands. Yeah. So your hands go where they go. You don't have to worry about them, except for if you have this habit. So people that have arthritis, the hands, the wrist and the hands tend to start turning out. So you want to have the hand an extension of the arm, and then the hands are fluffy, not tense. So this is tight, this is relaxed. So you want every part of your body to rest so you can have a nightlife. Right. Mm-hmm. And then glide your head forward, poke your chin out, and back up your neck. and let the back of the ears go skyward. And the head weighs about 12 pounds, so it's like a bowling ball, and it just rests down. If your tendency is for the head to keep coming up, the way you really work on it is by pressing the ribs under the breast, press them back, and they will almost always bring the chin in at the same time. Hey, now, I want you to notice in your low back, are you uncomfortable? If you are uncomfortable below your waist, if you are uncomfortable from here down, it is likely you are on the chair holding the pelvis up. So if you want to experiment, you could pull the butt up a bit on the chair and notice for you to do that, what tightens? It's going to be in your low back. So if when you're resting, you feel tension below your waist, you're really still, you haven't let go yet. So instead, you want to feel like your butt drops, like you have hot lava or something comfortable, warm honey rolling down your low back over your buttocks to help all that flesh drop down. If your back is uncomfortable from the waist up, you are holding your chest up, but you don't know it. You might be doing both. In other words, the idea of sitting well makes almost all of us have this idea. See where I'm lifting my chest and I'm also lifting my butt. So instead, you want to sink down and back. And so if you're tense above your waist, you want to really get these front ribs down and hang out. Hey, now you may feel like you're going into positions that are too curved, but when you do them, you go, oh, they feel pretty good. So it's the feeling pretty good part in whatever position to get those muscles to release and to relax. Because from our modern posture, which we all adapted in our culture, it's nobody's fault. We've been tense there for a really long time. So it takes attention and caring. And who's going to do it if you don't, huh? Yeah, the great part about this, you get to take care of yourself. And the great thing about it, you're going to find out how to. In other words, this balance and the work of Noel Perez, the Aplomb work, teaches you what you're doing that's injuring yourself and how little by little to cure it, to feel better. And really, it's as simple as sitting well on the chair. Hey, so thank you ever so much for joining me. And I hope you come back. Hey, if you want to communicate with me, I'm Jean@balancecenter.com. And you also can send me a photo of your back and I will tell you what I see, right? I'll write back. So thank you very much. Have a great day. And I hope you join me again. Ciao.
Ciao, thanks, Jean.
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. Who said that though? I just was reading Jennifer's.
Dustina, thank you.
Yeah,
Great
welcome.
tips. Every time I learn more.
I know, isn't it amazing? That's how I always felt too. You know, I'm like, just you pick up another little hint or you get one more thing every time you show up. Yeah.
I needed the refresher and there's no more fig leaves or nipples down.
Well, every now and then, Deborah, there's a nipple down, trust me.
No butt pulls, no butt pulls.
Yeah, we do. But that was too much to add today. Yeah, we do butt pulls.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Okay, so if a person has scoliosis, they sit more heavily on one butt, and that butt gets caught under. So you would get a hold of that butt and pull it over and out. But I'm doing a whole class on scoliosis coming up with sometime or another. Yeah. Okay, Deborah, great to see you. That's an old student, used to be
Yeah.
here who has moved. Yeah. Hey, does anybody else have a question or anything? Yeah, okay. Hey, well, send me a
Thank you.
photo of your back. Let's rock, huh? Okay,
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.